Claudia here from Create with Claudia. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today we're going to be making a quilt block, and I call it my 3D Friendship Star quilt block. Here it is. It's a 14.5-inch block, and it's lots of fun to make. It is based loosely on my quilt. This is my quilt that I made. I call it Pleiades, P-L-E-I-A-D-E-S, as I think how you spell it. It's basically a blue starburst, or a group of blue stars. I am an Island Batik ambassador for 2021, and our February challenge was to use all of these blue fabrics. This is their new line, February 2021. It's called Starry Night. It's designed by Kathy Engel, and this is the quilt I designed to sort of show off those gorgeous blue batiks. I really love the way it turned out. I don't have a pattern for this quilt yet, but that's why I came up with this fun little block, just so you can replicate that 3D star look that I have in this. So I do want to show you the original inspiration, or the original quilt I made, and that was about 25 years ago. I designed this quilt, and it is old, it is faded. I designed it originally for my father, and he hung it for about 23 years or so in his room. Unfortunately, like I said, it's all faded, but it gives you an idea. Here it is, the original quilt, and this was the inspiration for this one. So this is near and dear to my heart, this quilt. I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. I love new subscribers. Thank you so much. And I am on social media at Create with Claudia, where I show off all sorts of projects that I'm working on, that sort of thing. For this particular quilt block, my 3D Friendship Star, you can head over to my website, www.createwithclaudia.com, where I have a tutorial on it. So thanks so much for watching, and enjoy the video. So here's a good look, a little bit closer up look of the block that we're going to be making, my 3D Friendship Star. It measures 14.5 inches, and this is the fabric that you're going to need to cut out. Now I am using all Island Batik. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is sponsored by Island Batik. So I got all these gorgeous fabrics, and this was my part of my February project. So the first fabric we're going to be using is the white for this background, and this is in their neutrals line, and it's called Coconut. So from the background fabric, you're going to need the following cuts. You're going to need 2 rectangles cut 4.5 inches by 8.5 inches. You're going to need 2 rectangles cut 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. You're going to need 6 squares. Let me move those up a little bit. 6 squares cut 2.5 inches square. And then you're going to need some triangles. You're going to need 6 in total. Now you can see where the corners or the sharp points are cut off on this. Part of my Island Batik Ambassador box, I got an AccuQuilt Go, which I had never used before. And let me just say, it has made such easy work of making triangles for half square triangles. In fact, in the box that I got, there was a die for exactly that size. But if you don't have the AccuQuilt Go, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a square of fabric. You're gonna cut it out. In this case, it would be 2 7/8 inches. So you would cut a square of fabric 2 7/8 inches, cut it in half on the diagonal, and then you would do that with another fabric, then piece the 2 pieces together, the 2 triangles that you got together, and it would end up something like that, and that would measure 2.5 inches square. So that would be a 2.5 inch half square triangle. So if you don't have that AccuQuilt Go system to make these perfect triangles, that's what you want to do. For the blue star, and that's what I'm using here, you're going to need the following. And in this case, this is from their Starry Night line designed by Kathy Engel, and this is called Garden of the Asylum. You're going to need 1 square cut 4.5 inches, and you need 4 triangles for those 2.5 inch half square triangles. So again, you would take if you don't have that AccuQuilt Go system, you would take a square cut 2 7/8 inch square. You take 2 squares, cut them in half, and that would give you your triangles. For the black fabric, which is that accent fabric, you need 2 squares cut 2.5 inches. And then you'll need 4 triangles, same size as the others, and to make your 2.5 inch half square triangle square. And last but not least, you need gray. Now the gray and the black I meant to mention are from their solids lines. They're really nice batik solids. But from the gray, you also need 4 triangles to make a 2.5-inch square. So again, you would get those the same way you got the other triangles. So those are the pieces you need. And now we're ready to start assembling the block. Okay, so I know it doesn't look like much now, but I have laid out all of the units, all of the pieces of fabric that we're going to need, and then we're going to start just piecing them together. The first thing I'm going to do is piece together all of those half square triangles. So I'm going to do that using a 1/4-inch seam, and then I'll show you what it looks like. It will start coming together. It's a little big for the camera shot right now. I'm trying to smush it in a little bit so you can see everything, and it is a lot of pieces, but it comes together surprisingly easy. The one thing I will recommend very, very highly with this quilt block, stay organized. Do one at a time, lay it out, and just do it in a real organized manner, because it's very easy to get blocks turned around or half square triangles turned around. So let me go ahead and I'll do all those half square triangles, and I will show you what's next. Okay, so now you can see where I've done all of my half square triangles, and they should all measure, one of the half square triangles should measure 2.5 inches square. And now we're going to start piecing all of these small squares together. Don't worry about the big ones right now. Now this is where you want to make sure you do it sort of in the right order. You'll see I'm sort of splitting this apart a little bit, like so. Hopefully you can see everything. There we go. So you see this imaginary line right here? You're going to want to piece all of the squares on this side together and then all of the ones on this side together. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. Because at the end, when we piece the whole block together, this is the seam we sew it together on. So you don't want to mix, like maybe you don't want to piece these two together. You want to keep those separate. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And when I come back, I'll show you what it looks like and how we continue from there. Okay, so you can see how things are starting to come together. I've sewn these little units together, and I'm going to separate these a little bit more. That way you can see that line, that we want to keep that separated. And I'm just going to keep sewing here. So I'm going to sew this part together. I'll sew this together here. I'll sew these two together. And then you can sort of see, I'm separating it a little bit so you can see how we piece that together, and I would sew that to that. So I'm going to keep working, and I'll show you the next step. I'll show you how it just keeps coming together. Okay, so you can still see how these sections are coming together. I really wanted to show you how it is a really methodical way to piece this block together, just so you keep it in order. So the next thing I would do is I would sew these two together. I'd sew this to this. I'd sew these two together. And then once those two were sewn together, I'll sew this to this, and then finally this section to this section. And last but not least, when these two are sewn together, I would piece this whole block together. But I'm going to go ahead and show you one more step of how I continue piecing this together. Okay, so here we are. We're almost in the home stretch. Basically, all I'm going to do is piece these two together, and then put the whole block together, and we are finished. Alright, so here is my 3D Friendship Star quilt block all finished. It's ready to put either into a quilt. I'm going to make a little mini out of mine. They're just lots of fun. One thing I did want to mention with this block, this is a great block for fussy cutting if you really want to show off a special piece of fabric, maybe a real pretty flower motif or something like that. You could really get creative with this and put something really pretty in this big center block and really show it off by making it 3D. I think that would be really fun. So this is my block, 14.5 inches, the 3D Friendship Star block. Okay, so I'm all finished with my 14.5 inch 3D Friendship Star, and I turned it into this little mini. I just love it. It's just a cute little wall hanging. Not sure where I'm going to put it yet. And again, this would be perfect if you wanted to highlight a special fabric and fussy cut it. The fabrics that I used in both the mini quilt and in this quilt were from Island Batik, front and back. The batting I used was Hobbs Premium Cotton Batting. It's 80/20. And the thread I used was from Aurifil. I used Moonshine for most of it, which I love the name of that thread, Moonshine. And then I used dark gray to outline the individual stars there. I used Schmetz needles on my machine. And to cut out all of my triangles, I used the AccuQuilt Go. And that was lots of fun to use, and it really made quick work of making all those triangles. So here it is one more time. Here's my little mini quilt I made with my 3D Friendship Star quilt block, 14.5 inches. And there's my quilt for my February challenge. I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. I always love new subscribers. Thank you so much. And I am on social media at Create with Claudia. And this pattern for the Friendship Star, the 3D Friendship Star quilt block, can be found on my website, createwithclaudia.com. So thanks so much for joining me today, and have a great day.